Welcome to this video in our series of learning from the ministry of Jesus. This is part of our Opening Heaven's Door training course. What we're trying to do in this course is to encourage people to take this ministry as seriously as they can, to reflect on the ministry that you're exercising, and also to look at the ministry of Jesus. And as we do that, hopefully we can grow in what can be, for many, a life-changing ministry. And in this course, what we're trying to do is to alternate between a reflection on the ministry of Jesus, often looking at a gospel story and seeing what we can bring out of that about how Jesus ministered and what was going on in his heart. And also an interview then, in the intervening months, with somebody who's put this ministry into practice. Well, this month, we're looking again at one of the gospel stories about healing. And the passage I want to look at this month is actually one of the strangest of the healing stories. And what makes it strange is because we see an apparent reluctance on the part of Jesus to bring healing when asked. The story occurs in Matthew chapter 15, and it begins at verse 21. Well, let's hear the story. Leaving that place, Jesus withdrew to the region of Tyre and Sidon. A Canaanite woman from that vicinity came to him, crying out, "Lord, Son of David, have mercy on me. My daughter is demon-possessed and suffering terribly." Jesus did not answer a word. So the disciples came to him and urged him, "Send her away, for she keeps crying out after us." He answered, "I was sent only to the lost sheep of Israel." The woman came and knelt before him. "Lord, help me," she said. He replied, "It's not right to take the children's bread and toss it to the dogs." "Yes, it is, Lord," she said. "Even the dogs eat the crumbs that fall from their master's table." And then Jesus said to her, "Woman, you have great faith. Your request is granted." And her daughter was healed at that moment. Now, there's a number of questions that this story raises. And we do note that initial reluctance, that initial hesitation on the part of Jesus to bring healing to this woman's daughter. Now, what are we meant to do about that? Because I think we often sense ourselves a kind of a hesitation on the part of Jesus when we're ministering, when we're sick. We often ask that question, well, does God actually want to bring healing? It sort of expresses itself in different ways. Does he want to heal? Or am I good enough to be healed? Am I the sort of person God would ever heal? As prayer ministers, that hesitation creeps in again. Could God use me to bring healing? Am I the sort of person God would use to heal somebody through? Could his power actually flow through me? I think what these questions often do, actually, is they actually push us away from Jesus. They cause us to hesitate before we come to God. And I think this story actually highlights some of our fears in this ministry. So, what can we make of it? Well, it is worth noting at this point, actually, that the story may well begin with hesitation on the part of Jesus, but it certainly doesn't end with that. And actually, at the end of the story, what we read is this amazing healing of this woman who finds her daughter healed, even without Jesus having to go and minister to her in person. Something dramatic, something wonderful happens to her. But what we do see in this story is that Jesus is moved by the woman. It's an amazing sense, isn't it? We can move Jesus. As we read the story, the reticence of Jesus to heal, his hesitation, is not because he had no desire to heal her. Rather, it was about him seeking to work out his mission. If you read Matthew's account of this story, Jesus seems to really felt that his mission was to the people of Israel. That's who he saw himself as coming to minister to. And the lady in the story didn't fit into that. She wasn't a Jew. She came from a different region entirely. So what was he meant to do? Now it's interesting that if you look at the reaction of Jesus, it's in real contrast to the disciples. The disciples take the view, she's bothering us, send her away, she's making too much noise, she's a distraction, let's get rid of her. But he doesn't. And he begins by keeping quiet. It's almost as if he's trying to work out what is it he can do in this situation. And it's actually her reply, her unwillingness to go away, that seems to move him to act. Now, I wonder if we sometimes feel that God is kind of immovable. What he decided to do, he will do. It's all fixed, and there's nothing we can do to change it. Well, whether we can actually change God's mind is it's a massive question. But it's certainly the case that we can touch him, we can move him by our reactions. If you read the New Testament, there's several examples there where Jesus is really physically moved by the reactions of people with whom he comes into contact. Remember the story about the centurion who wanted his servant to be healed, and he stops Jesus coming into his house because he understands the nature of authority. And we're told that Jesus was absolutely stunned by this. Never have I seen such faith, he says. Remember the story about the 4 friends who want to bring their sick friend to Jesus, but they can't get in, so they lower him down through the roof? We're told that when Jesus saw the faith of those 4, then he stirred to act. Whatever he saw in their faces, it moved him to bring healing to that man. We read again in a couple of occasions that he saw the crowds following him. And there was something about their faces. He had compassion on them. And so he went to bring healing and teaching to them. Now when Jesus looks at us, we know, I hope we know, that he looks at us with a heart of love. But actually we can move him. We can touch him as well. We had that ability to bring Jesus incredible pleasure. One of the things we seek to do here is that when we're ministering to people, we're really keen to let that person surround themselves with a real awareness of the wonder of God's love for them. And one reason we do this is because I think it helps the person to have that awareness of God's love. But I think as well it brings God pleasure when we abandon ourselves to the wonder of his love. And just in case we're wondering if maybe we are outside of the mission of Jesus, like that woman certainly was to begin with, the unfolding drama of the New Testament makes it very plain that the mission of Jesus is now not just for those who are part of the Jewish community. It's been opened up to all of us. The passage where Paul speaks about this, what Paul says is it doesn't matter who you are. The good news of Jesus is for you, whether you're a Jew, whether you're a Gentile, whether you're a man or a woman, whether you're rich, whether you're poor, whether you're free, whether you're oppressed. It's for you. It's for all of us. And another thing we're going to come back to later is a way Jesus speaks about healing in this passage is he speaks about it as bread for God's children. Well, that's us now. We are God's children. Paul writes in Galatians 4, verse 6, God sent the Spirit of his Son into our hearts. The Spirit who calls out, Abba, Father. If there was any doubt that we're the sort of people God would touch, if there's any doubt we're the sort of people that God would use and move through, this must challenge that. Because we are his beloved children in whom he takes pleasure. Now, as we look at the attitude of this remarkable woman in this story, what was it about her that really moved Jesus? Because whatever she had, I want to catch as well. I'm sure we all do. What can we catch for ourselves? What can we catch for those for whom we are praying? And what it is this. It's that ability, I think, to be actively open to what he came to do. This remarkable lady, she looked at Jesus. I guess she must have heard some stories about Jesus. And she just made that natural assumption. What he's got, it's for me. I'm in need. He can help me. It's like she was saying, why not me? Why couldn't he do this for me? Now, I've seen many approaches to healing and many kind of ways people have explained how we could access the ministry of Jesus. And sometimes people talk about our right to be healed. Some people talk about commanding sickness to leave because it's always God's will to heal all of the time. Well, I don't know if we can say with that certainty that he wants to heal every person of every single thing at every single moment of time, and if only we had faith, then we'd see that happening. But I do believe that God is concerned for my total transformation. He is always at work in me, in all of us, to bring about that transformation. He is actively seeking that transformation. And the healing is certainly part of it. Healing my body, healing my emotions, healing my responses to people, healing my attitudes. This is all what he's seeking to do. Now, the thing is, I think, we, as I often say, we have our own agenda of how we would like him to bring that transformation about. But maybe he does as well. Maybe he has his own agenda of how he wants to see us transformed into his likeness. Now, this isn't a cop-out, oh, well, God doesn't want to heal you today, so, bad luck. It's actually a challenge. If I'm coming myself for prayer, what is it he actively wants to do in my life today? If I'm praying for someone, if I'm bringing them into the presence of God, for him to work his power upon them, and if it doesn't seem to be happening as they would like and as I would like, well, rather than just send them away saying, well, and there's always next week, let's ask that question. Well, what is it he's seeking to do on this occasion today? What transformation does he want to bring into this person's life? You see, our whole approach to prayer is based first on this idea that we bring people into that awareness of the Father's love, no matter what they're going through, that they find this truth, he loves them. And then we move on to let them find that awareness of the presence of Jesus. Letting people bring whatever it is they want to him. They can bring their agendas to Jesus, but also to give him the opportunity to bring his agenda to them. Let him speak to them What does he want to say to them? Now, this is certainly not us imposing our agenda upon them, but giving them the space to listen to what Jesus is saying to them. And the final stage is to let the Holy Spirit come to bring that transformation he so longs to bring to them, actually to all of us. So the final thing I want to say from this story about healing is that there is a naturalness to healing. You know, when we talk about God's agenda for people, there can be a temptation sometimes to dial back on healing. Well, you know, God will do something even if it's not healing. But in this passage, Jesus says something amazing about how he sees healing. And the woman comes and she begs Jesus for healing for her daughter. And what he says is actually quite stunning. You know, when he says, and what we might take it as a kind of a hesitancy or a rebuke, he says it's not right to take the children's bread and toss it to the dogs. Healing is being referred to as bread. It's not a luxury item. It's not something given out as a reward or as a prize. It's not something you get when you reach a certain stage of spirituality. It's bread. It's something very ordinary. It's something everyone would have access to. It's something very natural to receive. And when we're praying for people, when we're standing with them as they come for healing, we're not asking for something unnatural. We're asking for something that is natural for God to give. Healing is the children's bread. And there may be reasons why he doesn't give that particular bread at any time, but he certainly wants to feed them. And I think I always try and have that attitude that, I do believe that God wants to bring his healing to this person that I'm praying for. But I do want to be open to what else he might want to do along the way. So often when we're pondering healing, I come back to this beautiful invitation that Jesus makes in Matthew 11, verse 28. And he says this, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." I love it because the only qualification that people need is that they be weary and burdened. And if that's how they are, the promise is he will bring rest. And so as prayer ministers, our role is to stand by people as they respond to that invitation, to assure them that it's a good thing to do, to be in that place of asking. It's God's pleasure that they're there seeking to receive from him. And to stand with them as they discover something, hopefully something exciting about his agenda for them at that particular time. And it really is a privilege to stand with people at such times. Just one more thing about this passage, though, and that is I'd love us to catch and to recatch again and again and again the gentleness of Jesus as he ministers. If you read this story, he wasn't in any way, annoyed at this woman for coming to him. Well, the disciples were, but Jesus wasn't. It's almost as if he is trying, trying to include her in this mission that he's got. His whole dealing with her is trying to bring her what I think he longs to do, and he does it with gentleness. And I would hope that, one of the things that all of us, in this ministry could be noted for is our gentleness as we minister to those who come in need. Well, I hope you found that helpful. And I want to encourage you, if you haven't, to register for this course. Just go to our website, healingmission.org, and register. It's completely free. There's no charge to this. But what it means to register is you get access to some more of the previous videos that are generally available on our website. And once a month, we'll email you, just alert you to what is coming up and what's on the website in the new month. And also in that email, you'll get a few questions just to help you reflect on the ministry that you've been entrusted with. And as we reflect on it, hopefully it'll make us think, hopefully that would help us grow in this ministry. So until next time, God bless and take care.